and gentlemen, welcome to our regular meeting of Whitestone Council. I'd like to start with our national anthem. Please stand if you can. Thank you. I'll now read our Indigenous Land Acknowledgement Statement. The municipality of Whitestone recognizes all of Canada resides on traditional, unceded and/or treaty lands of the Indigenous people of Turtle Island. We recognize our municipality on the Robinson-Huron Treaty Territory is home to many past, present, and future Indigenous families. This acknowledgement of the land is a declaration of our commitment and collective responsibility to reconcile the past and to honor and value the culture, history, and the relationships we have with one another. I'll now ask if any councillor has a pecuniary interest to declare in relation to today's agenda. Okay, hearing none. Can I get a motion, please, to approve the agenda? Thank you. Councillor Lamb moves and Councillor Woods seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, please indicate. Thank you. Next on our agenda, we have a delegation, a presentation from Benjamin John, who is a part of Georgian Bay Biosphere, and he's going to present on the IceCap program, climate. He is manager of climate and energy programs at the Biosphere. And I see he's joined us. So John, if you would like to turn on, oh great, you've got your camera on. We should all be able to, if your mic's unmuted, yeah, we should all be able to hear you. So welcome, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, hello, Mayor and Council. Thank you for your time this afternoon. I wish I could be there in person. I'm actually in Ottawa at the moment for the Sustainable Communities Conference. I just want to make sure that you're able to hear me. Okay. Yes. Wonderful. I'll quickly share my slides here, and then I will get on the presentation. Excellent. And everyone is able to see those slides?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, once again, hello, Mayor and Council, and thank you for your time this afternoon. Back in 2021, Whitestone became a member of the Regional IceCap Partnership, And so my purpose here today is to just review what IceCap is, the work that it's doing to take climate action through energy management and risk management practices, to share with you the results from last year's work, as well as go over the benefits that IceCap has for Whitestone and the next steps moving forward that have been proposed. So once again, just to introduce myself, my name is Benjamin John, and I'm the Climate and Energy Programs Manager at the Georgian Bay Biosphere. To jump right into things, IceCap, it's a regional partnership between the municipalities and First Nations located in and around the Georgian Bay Biosphere region for the purpose of a collaborative, more cost-effective approach to energy management, the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions for the operations of each partner, for each of their communities as well as the broader region. And this is a formal partnership that is governed by a memorandum of understanding and terms of reference, which is created and amended by members of the partnership. And that MOU in terms of reference, I understand, has been included in your agenda package for your reference and knowledge. IceCap was first founded back in 2019, and Whitestone became a member and joined the partnership back in 2021. Since then, IceCap has now grown to a place where we have 11 official members, which includes every municipality in the Georgian Bay Biosphere region, as well as 2 First Nation communities. And the partnership has an open door policy. We're constantly engaging with other communities to join as well. IceCap also works and has a number of community partners as well that supports its mission and objectives. So this includes, for example, the local health unit, businesses, academic institutions, various cottage associations, as well as a number of utility companies, to name a few. As this is a formal partnership, each member has a council appointed liaison and staff liaison to IceCap, which is outlined in the Memorandum of Understanding. And to make this partnership cost effective, each member essentially contributes to a shared work plan and budget. Project management meetings are held over the course of the year, and each member's liaisons discuss and make decisions on those shared work plan and budget matters. So as you'll see on the chart in the screen here, the Biosphere is also a member into the partnership, and part of the work that we do is to seek to offset all members' costs as much as possible by acquiring external grant funding. IceCap will be meeting on February 15th to discuss and go over the 2023 work plan and budget. Everyone is welcome at this meeting, and there's going to be some details on the final slide about this as well. With respect to IceCap's work plan, however, each IceCap member has collectively been working to address climate change in 2 different ways. That's mitigation and adaptation. Mitigation, it refers to reducing greenhouse gas emissions that cause climate change. These emissions they're produced through energy consumption. So really mitigation can also just be seen as energy management. Adaptation refers to managing the risks associated with climate change impacts when they happen, like flooding and extreme weather events. So in other words, this can be viewed as risk management. So really IceCap's focus over the next 4 years and into the future as well is in delivering and mobilizing energy management and risk management solutions across the region. As part of their energy management efforts, each municipal member of IceCap has been working through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Partners for Climate Protection Program, or PCP for short. Over 500 municipalities across Canada are currently participating in this program, which involves a 5 milestone process that you see up here. It begins with building an emissions baseline. Then using that baseline, a target is set to reduce emissions, and then a plan is developed and implemented to work towards that target. This process, it's repeated for 2 different perspectives called corporate and community. Corporate, it essentially refers to your municipal operations, and community refers to the residents and the businesses that make up your community. Since joining IceCap in 2021, IceCap has worked with Whitestone staff to complete Milestone 1 and work towards Milestone 1 for both corporate and community. So last year, we also met with your staff and proposed to work towards completing milestones 2 and 3 as part of Whitestone's participation this year. And as I earlier mentioned, on February 15th, the full IceCap partnership will be meeting to discuss proposed work plans and budgets. So if there's interest in attending this meeting, please let myself or Michelle know. And again, there'll be some more details about this meeting on the final slide. Looking back to the work that was completed in 2022, I want to quickly share the results of Whitestone's Corporate Milestone 1. Again, emissions are a product of the different types, quantities, and ways in which different sources of energy are used. So by measuring emissions, we're also developing an assessment and an understanding of how buildings, fleet, and other assets are consuming energy. This information is, of course, really important to have because of the costs associated with energy as well. As you know, energy costs have only been increasing. So by looking at ways in which you can either reduce the amount of energy that's being used or say switching to different types of energy, not only can you work towards reducing emissions, but you can also experience cost savings and other benefits in the process as well. By doing this for all IceCap members, that understanding of how energy is being used can grow to a regional scale as well. And through this, we're able to identify opportunities for collaboration across partners and look for ways in which everyone can share resources and information so that members can essentially go about this work in a more cost-effective way. Similarly, in 2022, we prepared an assessment of how energy was used across different sectors in the community as well, and what that translates into in terms of emissions. So similar to from a corporate perspective, by doing this for communities across the region, it provides insights into how different communities are using energy and producing emissions in similar different ways, how they can work together and identify opportunities for collaboration, and again, work towards this efforts in a more cost-effective manner. With IceCap's focus being on delivering and mobilizing energy management and risk management solutions for the region, there's a wide variety of initiatives that we'll be looking to support members with in the future. So with respect to energy management, these solutions can include everything from energy efficiency and conservation efforts, fuel switching. We have a number of members that are interested in renewable energy generation, like rooftop solar on community centers, as well as policy development in any one of these areas. With respect to risk management, this can include actions that in some cases are already, and in many cases are already taking place, just with the addition of a climate lens to it. So for example, this can be emergency preparedness, education, programs, and resilient infrastructure that reduces the risks associated with climate impacts like flooding and extreme weather events, heat stress and wildfire, as well as fluctuating water levels. And while the attention of that PCP program is placed on energy management, I also really want to highlight the benefits and importance of adaptation and risk management as well. So the Insurance Bureau of Canada, for example, has stated that for every $1 proactively invested into resilient infrastructure, there is a $6 return on investment in future averted losses. So these investments are therefore critical to helping communities in adapting to changing climates, which helps to improve community safety and minimize financial losses when these events do occur. So in addition to the benefits of reducing emissions, IceCap and its work brings numerous different benefits to all communities as well as Whitestone. With respect to your operations, for example, energy management can bring operational cost savings. And by doing this work collaboratively, you can approach this work in a more cost-effective way. Also, having a climate action plan, which is that milestone 3, is a key to unlocking several external funding opportunities that are emerging, as well as are already out there. And there's also a number of benefits for community members as well. So for residents and businesses, they can also experience energy cost savings by applying these different energy management solutions in their homes and buildings. And this work can lead to the development of new programs and services, say, for residents, as well as community infrastructure. So in many ways, these services and infrastructure can lead to increased local economic development. And just before finishing, I'd like to mention that the next steps that we've proposed with your staff in this process is to start milestone 2 and 3, which involves setting an emissions reduction target and developing a plan to meet that target. And I realize I'm getting close to my 10 minutes. So if there's questions about what these steps involve specifically, I'd be happy to answer those questions during the question period. And just to conclude, as I mentioned earlier, on February 15th, IceCap will be holding a full meeting to discuss the 2023 proposed work plan and budget. All are welcome at this meeting. So if you are interested in attending, please feel free to reach out to myself or Michelle for more details. Whitestone's previous council liaison to IceCap is no longer on council, so we'd also like to extend an invitation to anyone on council who may be interested in taking over this role. If you are interested, I'd be happy to schedule a time and a time to meet with you to discuss IceCap in more detail prior to that upcoming meeting. So I've realized that was a lot of information very quickly. I want to thank you again for your time this afternoon. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take those.
Okay, well, thank you for your presentation, Benjamin. I will provide an opportunity for folks to ask questions here for a few minutes. Councillor Lamb.
Oh, test. Okay, I'm on. Thank you. Thanks, Benjamin. Just a couple questions. What does, I think I understand, but what does in your charts, what does the blue stand for?
Are you?
That didn't make sense to me, I guess. Oh, yeah. What's blue is waste, is it?
For clarification, Councillor Lamb, are you referring to the blue in the community chart?
Yeah.
That's
what are I know there's one is fleet, one is buildings, one I guess that's the. So can you explain the red, the blue, the yellow for me on page?
Yes.
Community baseline emission.
Yep, absolutely. On the community baseline side of things, the blue is with respect to waterborne emissions. That's looking at basically pleasure craft, like, small fishing boats, tillers, things like that. We've developed a model just to kind of estimate that, as a lot of the communities within our region, cottaging and boating is such a prominent activity, to have sort of an accurate idea of how energy is being used across communities. We felt it necessary to include that piece of waterborne transportation. So that's what that blue segment in that pie looks like in the community side of things. Okay.
And red is fleet, and I got the other things. So okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
oh, sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, just to elaborate on that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. On the red pie, that's looking at on-road transportation, so your cars and trucks, and the yellow pie that looks at residential, so your residential buildings. And you'll see that those two are the biggest pieces of the pie, that on-road and residential. And that's why I like to show all the other communities as well, because typically these are the largest categories. So that's by no means out of the ordinary. There, it's very common to see those being the largest pieces of the pie, and that's much expected.
Okay, my second and last question is, I think you said there were 11 communities that pay into this. Is that correct? Or 11 organizations, or how many are paying the freight?
Correct. We have 11 organizations paying into that.
Okay, what's Whitestone's percentage of that?
Yep. In 2022, on slide 5, Whitestone's percentage was 5% for 2022. And that's where this partnership model really comes into benefit, because by having this shared work plan and budget, all members are basically able to split that cost. And then with the Biosphere looking to acquire external grants on top of that, we look to shrink everyone's percentage and contribution as a percent as much as possible each year.
And that 5% equals how much money? How many dollars?
In 2022, that contribution was 8,000.
Okay, can you tell me on what basis the 5% was determined? What's the formula for that?
Correct. So the cost sharing model is we look at basically the total budget to carry out the work that for the year that's proposed. We see how much grants we're able to collect throughout the year, and then based on that, we allocate the difference across the different partners. I will say as well too, since Whitestone had joined later on in the partnership, there were other communities that were already contributing more to the partnership. So Whitestone's contribution was less last
Yeah.
year.
With all due respect, you didn't, I don't think, answer my question. On what basis, what is the formula that you arrived at 5% versus 10% or 8%, or there must be a formula?
Yeah, I
know
would say
the budget is expenses, revenues, all that stuff. But how did you arrive at 5%?
right. So the 5%, it was looking at, so the dollar value was first applied in terms of where others came in on that work on years prior, and based on that that dollar contribution back in 2022, that worked out to being 5%. So it wasn't essentially necessarily a formula. It was that came out within the dollar value that others had contributed when they were at that stage, and then that equal to 5% of the total budget.
So what will 2023's percentage be?
2023's percentage is looking at anywhere between 7% and 8%. So again, that can change as well. This is part of the conversation that we're having at that February 15th work plan and budget meeting to discuss the contributions for each community.
Oh, the 7 or 8% is based on the work that you're doing in Whitestone in 2023. Is that correct?
Correct.
So in 2024, it may go it
Correct. And it
Better
may
work.
also go down in 2023 as well too. So as grants come up, part of the biosphere's work is to access as much grant funding as well too. So if we are able to access additional grant funding, part of that contribution for say 2023 can be given back to the members. That's part of the language that's written into the MOU with how the grants work as well.
Thank you, Benjamin.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Are there other questions?
I just have a
Councillor Nash.
really quick question, Councillor Nash. It's just going off of what Councillor Lamb had said, if you don't mind. I'm just looking, if you said 8% or $8,000 was our amount for the 5%, can you just let me know what the budget was in 2022? I'm guessing based on some quick math, it was just over 100,000. Is that what the IceCap budget was? Do you know that number?
The IceCap budget for 2022, sorry, just for clarification.
Yeah.
Yeah, the IceCap budget for 2022 was roughly 160,000. So I apologize if my math on that 5% was a little bit off.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Anything else? I was going to ask a question on the slide that you have that has benefits for Whitestone. It says number 3 says unlock funding opportunities. I guess I'm interested to know what sort of opportunities there might be. For example, are there funding opportunities for things like ground source heating or solar? Where do these come from, these grants?
Yeah, absolutely. The Federation of Canadian Municipalities is a really great source for a lot of funding in this space, as well as Environment Climate Change Canada, Natural Resources Canada, and in many cases, especially with the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, for things like those types of infrastructure upgrades for buildings, ground source heat pumps. Having a climate action plan is a prerequisite in many cases to accessing some of these funding sources. So that's what I was referring to in terms of unlocking external funding. And if you like to have a full list of that, we do carry a full list at the Biosphere. I'd be happy to share what those funding opportunities are. We do have many of our other partners too. They're looking at this as ways similar, I think, to what you're alluding to, is, you know, how can they do upgrades to their community centers, their administration buildings, within their fleets as well, and across many different corporate sectors too.
Okay, thank you. Any final questions? Okay, well, thank you. I would like again to thank Benjamin for his presentation today, and we'll continue to follow this with interest.
Thank you again for your time today.
Could I just get I'd like to get a resolution that the Council of Municipality Whitestone receives for information the presentation from Benjamin John, Climate and Energy Programs Manager at Georgian Bay Biosphere. Okay, moved by Councillor Bray, seconded by Councillor Woods. All those in favor? Great, thank you. All right, so we have next we have a consent agenda, and that consists of the minutes of our meeting on Saturday, January 21st, our strategic planning meeting, and the minutes of our regular council meeting on January 24th, which you have in your package. So could I get a mover and seconder for the following, please? Now, therefore, be it resolved that the council, whereas Council of Municipality Whitestone has reviewed the consent agenda consisting of council and committee meetings for those two meetings that I mentioned, and unfinished business, which is listed on pages 4 to 8 of the package. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Municipality of Whitestone does hereby approve the following council meeting minutes. The special council meeting minutes of January 21st, 2023, and the regular council meeting minutes of January 24th, 2023. And that council receives for information the unfinished business listing contained in the consent agenda dated February 7th, 2023. Would like to move that. Councillor Lamb moves, and seconded by Councillor Woods. Any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor, please. Thank you. And I guess there are no matters arising from the consent agenda. All right, next we have accounts payable. Would I get a mover and seconder that the Council of the Municipality of Whitestone received for information the accounts payable listing in the amount of $184,832.58 for the period ending January 31st, 2023. Moved by Councillor Woods, seconded by Councillor Nash. Any discussion? Questions or comments? Yes, Councillor Woods.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple quick ones. First page 39. 36882. It's training. I was just wondering what the training was for Manish Kuala.
It's an MTA training course for me on the Municipal Training Association.
Thank you.
Couldn't get you. There's a training, Municipal Training Association. There is a MTA 1, MTA 2, MTA 3 courses. That is payment for the MTA 2 course, second one.
Municipal Training Association is who offers the courses.
Sorry, it's the tax association.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else about payables? Councillor Woods.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Next page, page 40. 1085 towards the bottom of the page, Creighton Rock Drill Limited. It's just supplies and whatnot. I was just wondering what the supplies were. As I've been looking through the accounts payable, there's been a lot on the freight liners, especially the single axle. I was just wondering, is that more than usual or?
Our manager of public works is on the call, so David, if you want to unmute and if you heard the question, if you want to unmute and answer, please.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. We did purchase some cable chains for the tires for hooking up during icy weather. They come in a small bag and you can carry them and put them on quickly. They're cable, like rather than a chain on the tire, they're a cable with some grips on them, and they come with bungee cords to tighten them up. They're a lot easier to put on. They're less damage on the road. They don't last as long, but they do provide good grip, and they're quick and easy to put on with our guys. So they're recommended by the other municipalities, part of the association, the Magna Supervisors Association, which we're part of. The other guys, some of the municipalities are using them, and they've had a really good experience with them. So we thought we'd try them out to keep our trucks on the road.
Thank you. One more. Page 45. 1111 TXM Motorsports Maintenance. Says York Landfill Maintenance Repair. 840.58 would be the total. I was just wondering what that was for, what TXM would have fixed that, the dump.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, respond to that.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Before Christmas, we had the snow blower that was it was a bigger snow blower at the York landfill, which needed a fair bit of work, but it was cheaper than buying a new one, and it was in good shape, much cheaper. So it was recommended by TMX, and we agreed that get repaired rather than purchase a new one. So it was repairs to the snow blower that we use at York landfill.
Thank you.
Okay, any others? Councillor Nash.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple, and I know several of them we probably can't speak about in open, but I'd just like to flag them. On page 40, we have item 1081 for Arid Burles. Just wondering if we could be provided, it'd probably be enclosed, but which files that was for. And on page 41, 1086 for DeVry Smith Frank. Again, same thing, if we can just be advised what file that's for. And then on the same page, item 1087, it's Ewert Dwyer, and it just says legal. So again, if we can just be advised as to what file that was for. And the final one is on page 44. Item number 1104, Rublin Tomlinson in the amount of $1,868. Again, if we can just be advised what file that's for, those 5 items for legal, I guess for this month added up to over $7,000. So I'd just like to know where those files are enclosed, if I could. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else? They're going to call the question on the motion then, please. All in favor? Thank you. So we have staff reports. Under item 9.1 is the budgetary control report for the 12 months ending December 31st, 2022. I'll get a mover and seconder. Please that Council of Municipality Whitestone does hereby receive the budgetary control report pre-audit for the 12 months ending December 31st, 2022 for information. Councilor Lamb moves, seconded by Councilor Bray. Thank you. All right. Since our treasurer is here, I guess I can ask him if if you have any comments that you want to make about the report.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and member of council. Operating expense analysis by department, general government and fire department, other protections, building department, environmental service, total health service, recreational and after school program. These departments are in favorable positions. Transportation service, library, planning and development are slightly unfavorable. When it comes to revenue analysis, we have not received funding for few approved grants in 2022 for the nursing station. We are expecting funding reimbursement in 2023. Transfer from reserve for capital will be done as a part of the final audit. And capital, overall, we are in a favorable position. In conclusion, the budget variance report as of December 31st, 2022 is an overview of financial condition of the municipality, but it doesn't tell us as if we are in a surplus or deficit for the year 2022. There are few year-end accrual and other year-end adjustment are yet to be made. Once we done with our final audit for the year 2022, we will know our financial positions. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Are there any questions in regards to this report? I think Councilor Nash was first, but
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have actually quite a few questions, so I'll probably ask a few, and then I saw Councilor Woods has his hand up too. I guess, Manish, maybe you can answer this. I think you'd mentioned just in what you were saying that there'll be a transfer from our reserves. Wasn't a question I had until I just heard it. Do we know roughly what that might be anticipated? And when I read the report, I see words as revenue, unfavorable -10%, expenses over budget 1%, slightly unfavorable. And I see capital budget and it says 20% under budget, which I guess is good. But at the very end, it says revenue in financial considerations on page 2 of 2, it says revenue is unfavorable. And when I started reading through all the expenses for 2022, I guess I had some questions on them. And I'm not sure what the best way to do it is, if I can go through them or if other counselors wants to ask a question first. I don't know if we can go through by, there's like 5 or 6 sections to it. I'm not sure what would be the best way to do it, but when I was going through it, I saw a lot of expenses, which to me seem to be well over budget. And I think it would be great if we could get a report back from staff as to some of the reasons why. I'm just going to go through a few. I'll read out the numbers, but item 16-113. It's on page 1 of 8. It says office equipment. We were over budget. I think our budget was 7,500 and we spent 13,000. Another one on the same page, item 16-120, legal expenses. We'd budgeted 20,000 and it's come in at just under 50,000, just shy of that 49,187. And one that really stood out to me was item 16-161. It's still on the same page, website maintenance, that somehow we budgeted $750 for it and our expenses are almost $7,000. And then it says station internet 1. I'm not sure which station it is, but again, we had a budget of, I'm using a few small examples. It's item 16-240, a budget of 750, and we're almost 3 times that at 2,171. And one, I'll stop when I ask, or if somebody can make a note of it, because I think it's important. Under transportation services, item 16-3002, it says roads benefits. I'm not sure what it is. We hadn't budgeted anything for it in the year, but we have an expense of $22,300. So I'm not even sure what roads benefits are. And I just looked at under general maintenance, it's item 16-393. There's a number of them. It's on page, I'm just trying to find the right page. Starting on page 3, we run through page 4, 4x4 truck maintenance. We were over budget on tandem Freightliner. We were over budget on single axle Freightliner. We were over budget on Freightliner snowplow. We were over budget on Tandem International. We were over budget on grader maintenance. We were over budget on, and the backhoe we were over budget on. When I look at it, we were almost, I think, if my math is correct, almost 50% over budget, or over budget by over $40,000 on maintenance. And I know I'd made a question when we were doing the excavator about rental or purchase. And I see these numbers of grader maintenance for a grader that I'm going to guess is 50 years old or 5 years old. And the maintenance for the year was $35,000. And I look at the backhoe and the maintenance for that was $22,000. So I was just wondering if staff could come back and let us know maybe why some of these things were over budget. I did see a note in item 16-448 under environmental services that it looks like staff is looking into it because we had a budget for recycling at York landfill of $20,000, and right now it's showing us $38,000, so almost 100% over budget. And then there was just a couple others here.
I wonder, Councillor Nash, if I could just interject here. I think what you're asking for is not something that we're going to get right now tonight. I think the suggestion probably should be to have staff go through the significant variances and come prepared with some notes for another meeting, because there are always some situations like this. What we've done this in the past, it seems to me, where we've gone through and asked for some explanation for the significant variances.
Yeah,
And some of them are things, you'll see some money that wasn't spent. Well, it wasn't spent. There's a reason why it wasn't able to be spent. So a short note could be attached to them and
yeah, I think that'd be fair. I only had a couple more here, so I'll just finish off here if you don't mind, Mr. Mayor. 16-843, our planning budget. 40,000 versus 58,000 in costs. And there was one here, again, item 16-71, Dunchurch high-speed internet, 1,300 was our budget, 3,300 is our cost. And then there's a note about Starlink, but I don't remember ever seeing expenses coming through for Starlink. But where I was getting with all of this is when I looked at the budget and see that we were down on revenue and over on expenses, and I looked at the capital budgets, and out of the approved budget, 2.7 million were in expenses. We've actually only spent 2.12, so call it 2.2 million in the year. And I'd say if more of our capital projects that were approved were done, we would not be in a good financial spot right now. Would be hundreds of thousands of dollars in the hole right now. I'm having to take from the reserve, which wasn't budgeted for. So when I go through all those little ones and I see all these projects that weren't finished under capital budgets, it kind of it startled me when I saw it. Like, I know, under capital budgets, money that we didn't spend. We had $40,000 budgeted on, I'll call it IT in the community center, and only 6,000 was spent. I think it's good that the other 35 wasn't spent when I see this right now. There's a health and safety policy that was supposed to be done that I see was not done. A water tank, which was never awarded, I guess, for $22,000. I just look at all of this and say, I think we're lucky that some of these projects didn't get finished. In the big one I see here, and it's leading up to everything I was talking about, on page 62 or attachment A of the booklet I'm looking at, it says nursing station. Approved budget was 917,000. We've actually only spent 680 right now. If we'd spent everything on that, it says that the final bills coming in Q2 would be in a really big hole right now, like a big hundreds of thousands of dollars hole. That's why I'm saying, I'm wondering if staff can go back and can kind of pull out some more stuff as to why we went over on stuff. And I look at this now and say in 2023 budget, we're going to have to allocate probably $250,000 to the nursing station that we wouldn't have normally put to it because we didn't get a bill in 2022. I do know there's still more grant money coming for it. I don't know the value. And that's kind of what led me to my very first question. Do we have any idea what we might need to pull from the reserves at this time to balance our books like we have to for 2022? Is there any guesstimation at this point right now? We are in February, so I was hoping we might be able to know some type of a number that we might think it's at. Maybe staff can get back to us on that. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you. Are there other questions or comments? Okay, Councillor Wood.
I just had one quick one, Mr. Mayor. I might have had this answer and have completely forgotten about it. On page 51, the grants, the provincial grants, the cannabis funds, do we not get that, or does none of the municipalities that signed on get that funding anymore? Or is that flip to something else?
Which grant was that?
The cannabis money, we signed in. It was only for a couple of years. We don't get it. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. That's all.
Does anybody know for sure? Is it?
It was just the one.
It was just the one. It was the 2 years. Yeah, okay, that's. All right, I think that's the answer to that. Okay, yes,
Sorry. Yeah, I followed the questions that Councillor Nash asked, and I think they're important. So I want to make sure that those answers come back to us either by email or whatever. I think he's done a good job of going through some of the revenues and expenses and highlighting, for us some areas of concern. So that's what it's in here for, is to bring his concerns up. And I think they should be addressed either back at another council meeting, which should be hopefully the next one or very quickly. And the answers should be not too hard to get. Or by email to us, but I guess since this is in a public forum, then the answers should come in a written form to us at say the next meeting or whatever, right? So that's my comment on it. I think his questions are totally legitimate. And if we can't bring them up in this forum, I don't know how we bring them up, I guess. So, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Bray.
Yes, I'd like to thank Manish for this work on this report. I do recognize that a lot of the departments came at their total budget, came in on budget or under, and that obviously there'll be some things that go over and under throughout the year. Having had to manage many budgets before in my life, I know that it's the total one that really makes the difference in each of the departments. So my question was really more around the departments that are over budget, if that was something that we could have the information about as to what were the reasons why things were so far over budget. And I think that was my main question. I'm not so concerned about the individual things, because I know that things will be over or under whatever, but certainly the bottom line of each department is important to know whether they came in on budget or if they're over, what maybe things that they can be doing to mitigate that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So we will get some more information about the variances in the report that are significant. We did pass the motion on, no. I guess we didn't pass the motion on this one, did we? The motion was simply to receive the report. Okay, so could I get a show of hands, please? Since you've received it, thank you.
Could we just make a note on there that staff will get back to us? Can we make a little amendment on that since I moved the motion? Can we change it just to say that staff will get back to us with some more details that we've discussed?
Well, I guess if you want, I think it's understood that that's what's going to happen. There's not,
Okay, perfect. Then. That's fine.
okay.
We're good.
It's not, yeah. All right, so now we have three bylaws next, which are bylaws that we usually have at this time every year. First one, 10.1, is a borrowing bylaw. So that, can I get a mover and seconder, please? That bylaw 11-2023, being a bylaw to authorize borrowing from time to time to meet expenditures during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023, be read a first and second time the 7th day of February 2023, and further read a third time, passed and properly signed and sealed this 7th day of February 2023, and numbered bylaw 11-2023. Councillor Lamb moves, seconded by Councillor, I'll take Councillor Bray this time. Any discussion? All those in favor, please indicate. All right, thank you. That's carried. Next one is 10.2, which is a bylaw to levy certain interim rates, taxes, and charges for the year 2023. This is until we get a budget. Mover and seconder that bylaw 12-2023, being a bylaw to levy certain interim rates, taxes, and charges for the year 2023, be read a first and second time this seventh day of February 2023, and further read a third time, passed and properly signed and sealed this seventh day of February 2023, and numbered by law 12-2023. Need a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Brahim moves, seconded by Councillor Nash. Any discussion on this one? All in favor, please indicate. Okay, thank you. That's carried. And finally, a bylaw to set tax ratios. I need a mover and seconder that bylaw 13-2023, being a bylaw to set tax ratios for municipal purposes for 2023, be read a first and second time this seventh day of February 2023, and further read a third time, passed and properly signed and sealed this seventh day of February 2023, and numbered by law 13-2023. And Councillor Nash seems to be moving that. Who's the seconder? Councillor Woods. Thank you. Any discussion?
I just had one really, really quick question. I think it's just for clarification so that I understand it better. On item 1.c, I notice A for the residential farm property classes 1, the B, the commercial property class is 1. Then I noticed on C, the commercial vacant property class is 0.7. I guess my question is that an impact requirement? I know, for example, the managed forest is an impact. Or have we as a council in the past decided that it's 0.7 of 100%, I'll call it. So I guess, is that an impact or is that a municipal decision that we've done in the past on that?
Manish, do you want to answer the question, please?
Through your mayor. Historically, since we are taking as a 7.7 as a ratio since few years, it can be 0.1 to 1% we can increase, but I just want to let you know, we have only assessment value of 130,000. When you discount it, it'll be 90,000. So we may get a $200 more on a tax revenue on this particular property class. We have only commercial vacant land assessment value of 130,000. So we are discounting 30% on it right now. So overall impact will be $200 less only on the tax.
So are you saying that all vacant commercial land in the municipality based on impact is 130,000 for all vacant commercial property?
That is the assessment value for the 2023. We have only that much assessment value for that vacant land for this year.
I thought there would have been more than that in vacant land for commercial, so that catches me by surprise.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was thinking, I just wasn't sure why we didn't have it as 1% everywhere else. So that was my discussion was, if was it impact or not, and if not, would we ever consider maybe making it 1-to-1 in the years to come? That was all.
It's not a requirement by statute. But it has historically been that way since the municipality was, I think since the municipality was created. Councillor Lamb, do you remember any discussion about this before?
I'm sorry, I was reading this.
Do you remember any discussion about vacant commercial land being 0.7 instead of 1?
No, I remember when I made the motion to make the commercial tax rate same as the residential.
Yeah.
And that's been that for years and years and years. And I remember it was it didn't mean very much because there weren't very many commercial taxes that there was like $1,300 worth of taxes. So it was more of an optic, I guess, to make Whitestone look, that advantageous to invest here. So, but that's 10 or 12 years ago, but I don't remember the exact details. So thank you.
And the reality, as Manish has pointed out, is that we do not have a lot of vacant commercial land. We don't have a lot of commercial land, period, but
That's true.
vacant or otherwise. We do have some, but not. Okay, so are there other questions concerning this motion? Can I get a show of hands, please, all in favor of approving it? Thank you. That's carried. That brings us to correspondence, which is listed on page 9 of the agenda. And yes, it is on page 9, sorry. Whereas the Council of the Municipality of Whitestone has reviewed the correspondence items listed on page 9 of the February 7th, 2023 council agenda. Now therefore be it resolved that council received the correspondence items for information with the following extracted for further discussion / action. Could I get a mover and seconder for that? And we'll. Okay, I've got Councillor Woods moving and Councillor Bray seconding. Are there any that you wish to extract for discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of receiving the correspondence? Thank you. That motion's carried. So there are no matters arising from correspondence. Now, that brings us to a closed session. I'm sorry. Oh, did I miss? Oh, I did. Sorry. I thought those three. Yeah, I thought we still had some more to do. Okay, item 13 is councilor items. Are there any councilor items to bring up?
Go ahead, Jen.
Councilor, sorry. Go ahead, Councilor Bray.
Yeah, I was interested in if nobody else is interested in being the IceCap council representative, I wouldn't mind doing that. That was on the
Okay, well, thank
slides.
you. We do not have a rep at the moment. Is that the situation? All right. Well,
I'll make the motion.
why don't we just do that right now? And no, it's all. Sorry, I just got to find myself a blank resolution page here. All right, so Councillor Lamb was going to move that the Council of Municipality of Whitestone hereby appoints Councillor Janice Bray as Whitestone's representative and tentative on the IceCap. What is it actually called? Is it just ice? Is it just on IceCap?
Yeah.
On IceCap, all right. I won't. Is that okay? Is that your motion? Councillor Lamb?
Sure.
Is there a seconder for the motion? I see Councillor Woods. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor, please indicate. That's carried. Very good. Are there any other councilor items? Well, Councillor Nash, I guess, had his hand up first, so go ahead.
All right, I had three items if I could. One of them's very simple, so I'll start with it. I didn't know about it until I was talking to another counselor, but I didn't realize, and if I'm correct, that behind the wood paneling there is a big screen TV. And I was wondering if it's possible the staff might be able to just look into, and it really hit me today when we were having the ice cap presentation. And he mentioned, do you have the slides in front of you? And I know Michelle pointed to the handout in the agenda, which was great. But I'm assuming if we attach a USB to any laptop and plug the USB into the TV and have it hooked to Zoom, all of council are sitting here without spending much money at all, even for a trial, can just see it on the TV. And if there was a slideshow today, we would have just seen it on the, whatever that would be, 60-inch flat screen TV. I think it's a very cheap and simple way just to try out a system by just plugging a USB cable into that. I know I can take my laptop at home, plug it into any TV in my house, and my TVs or my computer screen. So I don't know if staff could maybe look into that. And even if we have people on Zoom or whatever it might be, if we're sitting here without spending tens of thousands or thousands of dollars, we could just look over there and we might be able to see that there's some people on Zoom or whatever. So I don't know if staff could maybe look into that and just see how it would work. And if we need, I have, I think, a 40-foot or 50-foot USB cable that I can donate for trying it. I use it at home, but if somebody needs to try it out without purchasing a big USB cable, I have one that could be of use. And then
Before you go on, the short answer to your question is it can be done. We've done it before. You can cast to the TV with Wi-Fi, so it could be done with a smartphone that connects to the, to the Zoom call in this particular case, or whatever the video feed is.
Yeah. Perfect.
That's what we use for movies at the moment. It's obviously it's not. Well, counselors can see it. The rest of the people in the room can't see it. But anyway, that's without turning their chairs around, I guess. But anyway, yeah, it could be done, and it might be a.
I was thinking of
It's not. There's no investigation required. We have done it before.
Maybe, okay, perfect. Maybe we can set it
So
up.
so good. So carry on.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
maybe we could set it up for a council meeting just to see how it works. And then my second item is just wondering if we could get an update on. I know there was some communications before the holiday season on I'm going to go back to it, but the wood chipping and the procurement process. And I know it was going to come back to a closed session. So I'm just wondering if staff can let us know when that would be, or if it can maybe be on the next closed session meeting that we have, just to go through it. That was back on December 20th was the last communications we had about it.
What? I'm sorry. What was the item? I didn't hear what you.
Just in regards to the tendering or procurement practice that happened for the chipping. There's an email, so I don't want to get into it now, but there's an email thread that went back and I was told it'd be placed on a closed meeting. So I'm wondering if that could be done and followed up on. And then the very last one I had was, I know in close today, we'll be going through some stuff, but I know on December 13th, January 10th, January 24th, and today again, I've asked about expenses that relate to legal matters or maybe planning matters or bylaw matters. And I know we can't be told about them in the public setting and that it has to be in a closed setting. But instead of having to ask each meeting for it, and I know we're given some updates via email sometimes, I'm wondering if I might be able to present a motion. And I can read it out, that would just basically be that for the matters that expenses can't be identified in the public meeting, that we'll get a summary of them in a closed meeting so that we can all see where those expenses relate to, what files, what what projects they might be. And I point out that in our budget this year, we were almost, I think it was double on our legal fees. So I think it'd be important as council, we have a duty to know where those fees are going. So I don't know if I could read out, this is what I've proposed, but it's just my wording of something. And I said that in order to assist the members of council carry out their council duties, that staff will prepare and provide to council a separate accounts payable summary in closed session that outlines expense values and file names only for expenses that cannot be disclosed, provided, or discussed in an open meeting session due to privacy issues for items related to such things as legal matters, HR matters, bylaw matters, and planning legal matters where an identifiable person is identified. So I don't know if I might be able to propose that as a motion, and if somebody wants to first or second it, I think it would help us if on each closed meeting that we just have a quick little list, maybe it's 5 items or 10 items, whatever it might be, and it just says a file name and the company, and that's it. We don't need to keep asking for it and bringing it up. I think it might help everybody, and it's just a good way to track some of those expenses. I don't know what others might feel to that.
Well, I believe in the past, staff have provided information about what specific files, what specific things that in this nature were provided. So you can get the information. I'm not, but it has to be enclosed. So I'm not sure what the purpose is of constantly raising them in this meeting where they can't possibly be answered.
I think, in all due respect, Mr. Mayor, I think we've had about 8 closed meetings or maybe 6. And I'm still looking for answers from December. It's now almost the end of or middle of February. Shouldn't take councillors 2 months to get information on stuff. I'm sorry. So that's why I'm presenting a motion to say, we'll just make it that people don't have to ask, and it's presented from what I understand. I think it used to be presented years ago. There was always a separate sheet that did go to closed. Now it doesn't go to closed. So I don't know if I might be able to present that and see if there's a first or a seconder, and if there's not, so be it. But if there is, great.
Well, all right, you can present it in a closed meeting. I'm sorry, but it's not. We're not going to do it now. We do have a closed agenda we have to get to, and we've got
And why?
a small amount of time. So,
But well, I think we have lots of time, Mr. Mayor, but why couldn't we pass a motion in open as saying that stuff will be provided in closed?
because it wasn't on the agenda and nobody's had any opportunity to think about it beforehand until now. So we'll do it at another meeting.
Mr.
Thank
Mayor,
you.
Mr.
I'm
Mayor,
sorry, I'm ruling you out of order.
well, Mr. Mayor,
I am ruling you out of order.
Mr. Mayor, we just passed one for Janice. and it
Okay,
wasn't
that's
on
a
the
different,
agenda.
that is
No,
a
it's not.
different thing. We
It's
need a
not.
rep for ice cap and
It's
we
no
knew that
different
all
whatsoever.
along.
You could have put it on the agenda then, Mr. Mayor. Whenever it comes to me presenting a motion, you try to come up with a reason why it shouldn't be on. And under the rules of order, I can ask other councillors, and if there's a majority of councillors that agree that I can put something to a vote, it can be put to a vote and it's not out of order.
Okay, this particular thing is, look, I want to, we need to move on in the interest of time, or we're not going to get to this.
Mr. Mayor, can I comment on this? This seems to be a hump. By the way, why are we so tight on time? It's,
Well, because
It's dinner
we've
time.
got a closed session coming up, right?
yeah,
That's-
but
it's got quite a
it's an
few
hour
items on it.
and a quarter into a 3.5 hour curfew. I don't see any issue that we're tight to time.
All right, but
No, seriously,
I-
like,
my
we're-
objection is not simply to the time. I do not want to go through this upper hour, but besides that, I don't think,
but the council has decided that the meeting starts at 4 o'clock.
yeah,
I'm sorry if it bothers your supper plans, but that's what's
Yeah.
here. But we're not gonna rush through a council meeting because you're hungry. Like, come on, this is, and what Counselor Nash is asking, in my opinion, whether we discuss it in closed, if that's what you're suggesting, and have a motion in closed.
I am suggesting that.
Okay,
That's
then we'll
what I think we
discuss,
should have.
that's different. Okay,
Yeah.
then that's what we'll do. We'll move it into closed and he can, discuss it. Because I have some questions on what would be included and what not, and those sorts of things that I don't think it's fair to do in open. So I
Yeah.
agree with you. It
Yeah,
should go into
that's-
closed, but anyway, I think we just, jumped to
No,
out of order really
well,
quick. Like, anyway, I found it, he's trying to make a point.
Yeah.
And you don't like the point,
Nobody,
so you call him out of order.
my
And
objection.
excuse me, I have the floor, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
And you've done this You've done this historically. If you don't like what's being told, you call people out of order, including me many times. And
Yeah.
I disagree with that. So those are
Well-
my comments, and I guess
All right.
we can rush through her so you can have your dinner, but that really annoys me. Thank you.
Well, what I should have done probably is ruled him out of order when he started reading out all the items that are in that were in the expenses. Because he knows that we cannot answer them in a public meeting.
But
And so what's
excuse
the-
me,
what
can
is
I,
the
can I
benefit of
respond
that?
to that, Mr. Mayor? He didn't ask for a response. He asked, these are the items that he has concerns about,
But
okay?
why bring them up? Why bring those matters which cannot be
Because
answered up
I
in the
want to
public?
know what my fellow counselors, when they go through the expenses, what they see as concerns.
but
He
he-
has, excuse me, again, I have the floor. He brought up some very legitimate points that I had not thought about, okay? And all he's asking for was for Manish to come back with a report, but to say, well, you can't bring those up now. We're giving you 8 pages of expenses, but you can't say, I have a concern here because we spent 50,000 on legal and the budget's 20. That concerns me and I want an answer to it. And it resolved its way out, but you don't say you're out of order for asking a question on the expenses.
I
Like, come on.
didn't say
That's
that.
exactly what you said.
No,
You should have
no.
ruled them out of order when he brought it
The
up.
legal expenses I'm talking about, because they can't be answered in a public session. You know this.
But
They can be answered in a closed session, and that's the place to ask them. That's all
exactly,
I'm
but his
objecting
point
to.
was, he's been bringing this up since December. And he's not, it comes out by email. All he wants, and I guess we're gonna talk about it in closed, is, so anyway, we'll move on to close. But
Yeah.
anyway, thank you.
All right.
I used 5 minutes. Hopefully we didn't cut into your dinner. Thank you.
So is there anything, I guess there's questions from the public. Are there any questions? I don't think we have any members of the public on the call at the moment, so. Other than Taylor Clark, I see is on the call.
And Mr. Mayor, and all, sorry about that before. I did have one other thing after that kind of got derailed after I said it. So I did have one more thing, but if Counselor Lamb has something first, he's more than welcome to go before me.
Okay, I did have a counselor. I did have a counselor item. Counselor Nash and I attended the planning board meeting last Monday. And it was really backed up because they hadn't had a meeting since October. So we had, I don't know, 10 cases or something, which isn't the normal, but we worked our way through it. But I wanted to there was some difficulty getting a chair, but anyway, I ended up being the chair of the planning board. So I'm the chair of the planning board for the next 4 years. So I just wanted my fellow counselors to know that. So what, pardon?
Sorry, go ahead.
I just said congratulations.
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure, or condolences, I'm not sure of it, but anyway, the very interesting, having never attended one of these meetings, other, as a representative, it's very interesting, and you can see how the system sort of works, and there's 8 counselors from 4 2 from 4 municipalities and John Jackson and his assistant. And then, of course, what we see in a planning, you know, when people come out and talk and do whatever and have public meetings, they're able to then go to the planning board, which is the decision-making body. They're again able to go in and ask those same things. So the ones that dealt with Whitestone, I had heard most of the arguments, but funny enough, the one that, and I think this is interesting or should be interesting, the one that got the most attention of the 10 or 12 applications was our private road. Duda, who severed some lots on I think it was Gibson Bay Road, right? Well, that went on for well over a half hour, maybe 40 minutes. And because there was a planner who took great objection to Mr. Jackson's report. And then there was a bunch of personal stuff sort of thrown around. And but that took up a big chunk of time. And finally it was passed. That was interesting. So anyway, I just wanted to let people know that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other? Councilor Woods.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm just gonna bring up a conversation that I had with you earlier today, Mr. Mayor. At work, I managed to get a whole bunch of kids' craft kits from Home Depot donated. I've contacted our librarian Eva to see if she would like some for the library to hand out to kids for free. And I will be dropping some off at our local school for all the younger kids to put some together, and spoke to our fire chief, and he would like to have some fire rescue boats, and he can hand some out too. So I just wanted, if anybody's listening, bring your kids by one of those 3 places and please take some pictures, and I would love to get copies of the pictures. Just a kind of feel good thing for everybody. That's all. Thanks very much.
Okay, great. Thank
What
you.
were they, Brian?
They're little craft projects like pencil holders, pen and pencil holders. One's a fire rescue boat, some napkin holders, those kinds of things. Just little arts and crafts for kids.
Very good.
Okay, well, thank you. If there's nothing else, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session, please.
I had one more thing, if I could, Mr. Mayor, as I mentioned earlier there. I kind of got off track on the other one. And if this isn't the spot, if somebody wants to tell me, we can talk about it in closed, that's fine. But it's another thing that's come up a couple times, and it's the road grant. And I know we've gotten some communication and emails. But I'm just wondering if it's possible that I know in our road grants, it notes any work being done on roads or portion of roads that is privately owned requires written submission from the owner. And then I know in our bylaw, it reads, if a private road, the application must be accompanied with written confirmation from the owner of the road approving the application, and the work can be completed unless the applicants can demonstrate that the owner of the road is inaccessible to the satisfaction of the CAO clerk or treasurer. So, and I know on our road grant application, I was looking at it today, it notes a spot there that kind of says the reason if you can't get a hold of somebody, to kind of give the reason. And I'm just wondering if possible, I know there'd been a couple that had spoken about a couple months ago. And I'm just wondering if it's possible that maybe staff could provide the applications to council, just have another look at them. I know in regards to one of them, which was Amarak Trail, unless I'm really wrong on my assumptions and my knowledge of things from before I was on council, I know Amarak Trail Road has had a long history of back and forths with the owner and the residents on the road. And I believe, if I'm correct, the owner of the road is accessible because I believe he had to cover some expenses and was in contact with their municipality. So I'm just wondering what reason would have been given on the application that says they weren't able to get a hold of the owner. I think there's, how would I call it? Maybe a disagreement between the landowners, and maybe that's why people aren't hearing back. And I think if it's not time now, but maybe if staff can get back to us, even if it's in a closed, and we can just go through it in a little bit more detail, because I do think we have to be careful, not only on that road, but any road when applications come in, that if we're paying money on a private road and the owner hasn't authorized it and work's done and somebody gets hurt, I would assume there's a very big liability on the municipality's property if we ignore that little commenting part on our application. So I don't know if that might have to be a legal opinion from a lawyer or something. But I just ask if we could look into that a little bit more, and could possibly get back to us as to, you know, what was said. And, you know, I don't know if we look at what attempts were done, and just going forward, we really make sure that when the applications come in, that if there is a private road, that the owner has authorized the work going forward. I think we might have maybe missed that step in the last number of years. Maybe we just want to make sure to put that back on our radar. That's all I had. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, once again, I think this is a matter that needs to be dealt with in a closed session. There's a lot of background to that, and
I would agree with you.
because it makes a difference whether or not the people have how their right to use the to use the private road, we'll call it, how that right is enshrined in law, right? So
Yeah, so
you know, there are a number of situations like this that have come up over the years but they're different, you know.
yeah, so if it could
Not-
get on close would be great.
Yeah, so I think it's a matter for.
Yep.
I would also note that there was one of the things that we talked about in the strategic planning session was that we would perhaps revisit the road grant protocol at some point. So that, you know, that may also be an opportunity to discuss it, but anyway. Okay, is there anything else? All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn to close, please? Counselor Nash moves, seconded by Counselor Woods. And it is 5:29 p.m.